Welcome to the Love is Our Nature podcast, where we discuss all things ranging from love, relationships, authenticity, fulfillment, to lessons from plant medicine journeys, inner healing, and living your truth. I'm not your teacher, I'm only your fellow student. Occasionally, you also get to hear some of my own healing process and journey back to love. The point of the program? That you take away at least one actionable piece of knowledge that supports you in expanding whatever aspect of your life your heart most desires. My name is Cesar Rodriguez. I will be your host, and I am honored to have you here. Happy listening. Welcome to the Love is Our Nature podcast once again, and I am not the host this time. I would like to introduce you to your host, who's back again from episode 7, Miss Tanai Milgram. How are you?
Hello, I'm so good. I love that you named the number of the episode, like episode 7, because it's like, That's when I talk about my favorite TV shows, I'm like, remember in episode 12 when this happened?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Everybody has a number. Whenever they join the podcast, I start referring to them. I was like, oh, yeah, you're episode 10. You're episode 8. Oh, yeah, episode 9. You're episode 7. So if you haven't heard it, check it out. And thank you, Tanai, for just jumping on and switching the script here with me. So this is not really scripted. We've got a couple questions from people that they wanted to find out more about. But besides that, you're running the show today, so here we go. We just want to recap as to what's happened in this first season of the journey of the Love is Our Nature podcast and all that. So I'm just gonna hand it over to you in full trust, and let's do this.
Awesome. Yes. All right. Well, why don't we start with one of the questions that was submitted, because it's going to really set the space here, which is who was Cesar 12 months ago and who is Cesar now? And feel free to keep it like superficial. No need to like go too deep into it, but just to set the space.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that could be the whole episode right there.
Exactly.
So who is Cesar 12 months ago? As it pertains to the subject of this podcast, which is mostly around the inner healing journey and going back to love, which in my opinion is our essence. I'll focus mostly on that. So Cesar 12 months ago, and December, wow, it seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, take us back to that. We were just talking about it, how for whatever reason you spoke to the woman that I speak to for Akashic record readings, and you found it a very humorous and enlightening session because she kind of poked fun at your ego, basically.
She did, and it was also confronting because I could hear her truth in a lot of what she was pointing out. And truth that ended up being kind of a wake-up call for me when she said things like, you've lost touch with the world of emotions and the world of subtleties, and you've strayed so far off your purpose that your soul is sad. And the worst part is that you don't even know it because you're so disconnected from your feelings.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was like,
that's a truth bomb.
What? You don't know me? But she did know me probably better than anybody else. She, now I'm a believer in Akashic record reading after that. I mean, after an hour of hearing things that resonated deeply, definitely, I walked out a believer. So that actually sums up a big part of who Cesar was at the end of 2020. I was just finishing my apprenticeship to be a program leader at Landmark. Business was going okay. Actually, it was going really good. I had just finished having a growth spurt in my business, and my relationships with my family were better than they've they've ever been. Um, I was a single guy, with a great relationship with my ex, and and yeah, I mean, with I almost want to say like on paper or to the untrained eye, my life would have been like a brochure life. It's like the life that anybody would want to sign up for. But um, I guess being someone who's just wanting to get the most out of life, I knew there was some things that were not quite in resonance, something that was missing, and I didn't know it was missing. And that conversation with Laura kicked it off, where I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what's missing, is being in touch with my feelings, like connecting with my heart. And I saw that deeply in the following day in the ayahuasca ceremony. That happened to be the day after this Akashic record reading. And yeah, I really went in there with the intention that got created with Ana Laura, which was allow whatever aspect of me I've been suppressing to, or whatever pain, to surface and give it love and healing. And in that ceremony, I ended up meeting my inner child, which was huge. But anyway, back to who was Cesar. Yeah, that's that. I think that answers the question for the most part.
Yeah, someone who was not aware of even how deeply disconnected he was from his emotions.
Yes, his heart. Oh, and also
Wow.
as part of the question, who am I? Who's Cesar now?
Yeah.
Okay. So today's December 22nd. I just on the 2 days ago, I was flying back to Miami from Costa Rica. I've been in Costa Rica since January 10th almost, and I did take a couple breaks and came back home to visit family. But now coming back for these holidays, I really felt like a completion of a chapter. And I was journaling in the airplane on the way back, and as I was finished journaling, we were about to land. The airplane's descending, and in my journal, I was just expressing so much gratitude because of the process that took place and the life that I have, and just the connection that I feel now with myself, with my heart, with life that wasn't there before. I literally cried tears of joy as we were landing and being present to all of that and thinking of all the magic that got created in my time in Costa Rica. I take my phone off of airplane mode and I see some messages from my housemates back in Costa Rica, and I just got so present to them. And I'm like, wow, I have a great life, and I'm so thankful to these guiding spirits. This whole thing is new to me, right? To even say that, but like when I look back, I can't deny that there was guidance, like loving guidance that I was so fortunate to be able to see and receive. And I was just so thankful to that. I even wrote that in my journal as well. Like, thank you, spirits or God and ascended masters or ETs, whoever's out there providing guidance. Just thank you because I'm here now. I've arrived and I'm home. Not home in Miami, like home here.
Yeah, home in your heart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so powerful. And I see from the outside how there has so clearly been guidance, because like you can tell when that happens when someone has intentions and then they put themselves out there in life because of a hunch, and then these intentions unfold in mysterious and unexpected ways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'm curious, looking back, how do you know, when I look back at your year, it's like half of it was about you and your solitude and connecting to yourself, and then this drastic change of the second half being all about community.
Yeah. Yeah. Great
Right?
observation.
Yeah, it was like it's like that. I don't know. It is really truly the hero's journey, where the hero's outcasted and like
Mm,
going through his own hell, and then going through his
mm,
own like purgatory in that way, and then coming out and going back
mm.
into community, right? So how did that time serve you to go back into community?
Oof. Um, I think I've said a couple of times now in conversations with people that I think I'll look back at the first 2 years. I'm sorry, at the first 2 months of 2021 as perhaps the two most valuable years of my life.
Valuable months, but I love that you said years.
Yeah, I felt like it. Uh, the and I'll try my best to describe why. So again, back to guidance, right? I had just heard of Nasara, and I think you and I were in touch when we were starting to plan our Costa Rica trips, because you went down there too, like right around the time I did, in completely different parts of Costa Rica.
In
And we
Santa
were like,
Teresa, like
oh
ironically, you
yeah, yeah, you
know?
were in Santa Teresa. But before we both went down there, we're like, oh yeah, you actually said, have you heard of Nasara? And I'm like, no, I'll look into it. And I'm like, okay, it sounds like Nasara is where like the cool people are, like
Yeah.
community and stuff like that. So then watching the YouTube blogs, they're like, oh, Tamarindo is a better choice because it's cheaper and it's close enough. So I was like, all right, let me find some Airbnbs by Tamarindo. And I bookmarked like 7 of them. When I'm finally ready to book something, only 1 out of the 7 that I bookmarked was available. And I was like, okay, that looks like it's close enough to Tamarindo. I'm going to go with this one. I guess the universe picked it for me. Here we go. Surrender. And I just
Yeah.
booked it. I didn't even think about it again. It said it was like a 6-minute walk to the beach. So I'm like, that's all I need. And I show up to Potrero. Well, first I take how the heck did I get to Liberia? Oh yeah, I have a cousin in San Jose. He drops me off at Liberia. It's another one, a big city north of Costa Rica. And in Liberia, I catch an Uber to take me all the way to Potrero, which is another 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
So altogether, it's like 4.5 hours from San Jose. And I get to Potrero and I'm like, huh, all right, well, it's not exactly what I had in mind. So I'm like, let's go for a walk. And I'm walking around. It's mostly a dirt road. And there's probably like 400 residents in that town. and all the restaurants seemed empty. There were little tiny home mom and pop restaurants, you call them sodas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go to the beach and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. But as I'm walking around, I go to the bar. I'm like trying to find people. I'm asking people, where do people hang out here? They're like, oh, try this other bar. It's the most popular bar in town. I go to that bar. I'm the only person there. And that's how it went for my first week or so. There was like literally nobody to hang out with in town. I was really wanting to hang out with people, but no, it was just me and the beach. So it was either that or go grocery shopping.
Or go to the place where you could buy a full meal for $4.
Or that,
You did
which was
mention
amazing.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, I actually did spend a lot of time grocery shopping more than I needed to. But that's where I started to notice this thing in me that was I had a hard time just like sitting down. That's, for lack of a better word, meaning just like staying still. And after enough runs to the grocery store for stuff that I probably didn't need, eventually I slowed down some more and started spending some time on my own. 2 weeks
Yeah.
in, I actually couldn't take it anymore. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? It's so lonely here. And I called a couple people, and then I found myself like wondering, am I like spending too much time on the phone with people, or am I avoiding something?
Hmm.
So I started calling people less. But yeah, one of the people that's been like a facilitator for plant medicine for me before, I spoke to her, and she's just like, yeah, just maybe increase your meditation from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And that definitely helped. I got into my routine better than I ever did. Exercise. I was happy to be able to like stretch, meditate, exercise, go for a swim in the ocean, come back, make a smoothie, and it's still not even 9 a.m. you know, because I was also working. And anyway, long story short, after a month, I was like, this is the most healing time that I've ever spent, being here on my own in nature. And that was basically religious for me. I'd go watch the sunset every single night, every single um, dusk, and just watch the sun set, and then make a fire most of the time and just sit there, and sometimes go for a swim. And the first time I went for a swim at sunset, this was probably in the first week, I'm watching the sunset, the beautiful colors, and the ocean water, and this isolated, quiet beach. And something kind of just came over me where like I started to cry a little bit. It was just like a little bit, like they call them like engineered tears at first, right? The tears that just hang there and they don't want to come down. And I don't even know why. But something was just like, oh, I think it was just like the beauty. And I think there was like a certain gratitude as well. But now I could speak to it some more, and I was realizing like I was probably starting to reach a state of homeostasis. They say that if you leave nature alone, it reaches homeostasis. Homeostasis being the state at which everything's running optimally. If your body's in homeostasis, then it's running optimally. And I think getting out of the Western race and just being in nature takes you to that homeostasis state. And I did that day after day after day. And after a month, I was 2 weeks in, I hated it and I wanted to leave. 1 month later, I'm like, wow, this is the best ever. I don't think I ever want to leave. But I'm definitely doing another month. So I booked the second month. And I got to spend so much time on my own that I almost didn't have a choice but to do like some deep introspection. And I did a breathwork session February 2nd. The episode 4 is all about that. And that's where I uncovered a lot when it comes to my relationship with sex, my relationship with love and romance or relationships, and how much resignation about love there was, and how I was using sex as a deep cry for connection on top of this deep resignation about love. And it created an intention for me to practice celibacy for a while. And so that's when that started. And started to get in touch with, well, the intention was to get back in touch with a sense of divinity in my own body that I was so disconnected from, so that I can also create a connection with a partner where I'm present to her divinity, and we can connect from that place in a much deeper way than I had, because where I was before was just lost that way. My brain was just like always trying to see like, who am I going to sleep with, so yeah, a very very productive time in Potrero. So to go back to your question, like, what did that provide? How did that prepare me for community? After 2 months of that, I was like, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to be with people. And I spoke to this guy I became good friends with, eventually became a housemate, Darren. He's a sound healer. And I met him at an event and that I drove down to. I interviewed him on the podcast. After we're done, I'm like, hey, bro, I think I'm ready to connect with community. I'm not sure where though. There's so many different cool towns in Costa Rica. And he's like, bro, Santa Teresa. So that was such a warm invitation from him that I was like, all right, well, that's it. And I also spoke to you about it too.
Yeah, and I'm
And
obsessed with Santa
yeah,
Teresa.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so magical.
And you were like, yeah, I think you're gonna like it. And I went to Santa Teresa, and it was just like an immediate like boom. Like the night I arrived at Santa Teresa with my car full of luggage, the rental car, I went straight to Darren's place because he was hosting an ecstatic dance at Templo Lila, the house that's been our home now for the last 8 months. And I was like, dude, this is your house. This is amazing. And like, I had to do this ecstatic dance, which was somewhat new to. I think I'd only been to one ever in Miami. And it was so much fun. I connected with so many people that day. And then it just slowly started to grow more and more and more. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but I guess that maybe answers it a bit.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So good. This next question is a little connected to one that one of your friends submitted, and also one that I was wondering. You know, I feel like the Cesar before had a very had, I'm sure, very different intentions for life and a very different why than you do now. And it's like, I've seen you just find your place in community and find what you have to offer and how you want to serve. So I'm really curious about, what is your why if you know that now? You know, like why,
Yeah.
like why are you here on this world? What are you here to offer? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
love
curious.
that question. So in a way, it's like it didn't change. Through my work at Landmark, I got connected to what I'm committed to. In other words, my purpose. I stopped looking for it out there, thinking I was going to find it if I searched for it enough, to realizing I get to say what it is. And I think we all can just ask ourselves, like, what matters the most to me? And that's it. That's your why, right? So for me, back then, it was okay. I want to inspire people to love themselves, each other, and take care of one another. Um, but it was around this time that it started to hit me. Wow, I've been missing. It was in December of last year that I've been missing that first piece, like love themselves. Right, I've been missing like loving myself. So it's almost like there's a closer or opening, closer look or opening into that first piece now that I would say how my why has evolved is I want to work on that piece more with people, the part where they get to love themselves. Because from that place, that's all there will be is love. And when you go out in life and be and act and operate through your life, then that's the place you're going to be coming from. And loving others and taking care of others is just going to be automatic. So how I would say that now is I want to help people reconnect to their hearts and reconnect to nature. Because there's one thing I learned from Potrero is they're one and the same. When you
Right.
reconnect with nature, you reconnect with yourself.
So good.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you, you've been in nature so much this year, and
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what element of nature, or
Mm.
what part of nature do you feel like most resonates with you or with your process this year?
Hmm. Ah, And it's interesting because I've been in different settings. I think it's just, you know, as long as you're immersed in it, it almost doesn't really matter. It could be by a river, it could be in the ocean, it could be in the mountains. For me, I mean, I think of Potrero, and what Potrero had was beautiful isolated beaches, and the ocean was just so calm, and fire, definitely fire, that did a number on me more than once.
Ooh, tell us
I started
more.
questioning my sanity tonight. I gotta be honest, because those nights that I'd be just talking with a fire.
Yeah,
um
that is a thing.
and I don't think I was talking out loud, but I was definitely like receiving communications from the fire.
Hmm.
um and there was times that I would just lay there until the fire's gone out, and it was just me in the pitch black beach at night looking up at the stars, and eventually like I'd start hearing the stars. And now that I've gotten to spend a lot of time with Darren's an encyclopedia. I got to bring that guy back in another episode.
Cool.
He's told me all about how like in indigenous rite of passage ceremonies and initiations and vision quests and stuff like that, like they actually tell people, all right, go to nature, open a line of communication with a tree or something,
Yeah.
and come back in 3 days or half a day or whatever, and share with us like what you learned. So it seems like that's a very old practice that I was fortunate enough to stumble into. So yeah, for me, what resonates is a beach, a super calm, spacious beach with a fire. I love that.
Mm,
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, it's a really beautiful imagery too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what how do I want to phrase this question? What surprised you the most about what's come out of your experience this year?
Mm. How ready for love I am.
Mm. Like a relationship, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
like for my queen.
Wow.
Just a year ago, or just over a year ago, I was still quite in the conversation of like, ooh, but maybe I want like a more open arrangement, where we could see other people. Um, and I have so much respect for anybody that feels that that's their truth. I could talk about that quite a bit too. Like, there's no one right answer to this. For me, that was my truth, and and now my truth is different. Um, and I just happened to discover for myself in these last months that a lot of my desire for affection was coming from um, a deep cry for connection or approval, that because it was missing within myself,
Mm.
like me with me, right? So as I got to nurture myself, sit with myself, cry with myself, love myself, hold myself, the more I started to simmer down. I took on celibacy February 2nd. I didn't say for how long I would do that, because I knew otherwise I would just be waiting to reach that date.
Wow.
I just said until I think it's done, until I think
Yeah.
I'm connected to that depth. 6 months later, I was like, okay, I think I'm there. Like I feel that, like I'm ready now. And I completed my celibacy. But now it's been almost another 6 months. I still haven't. slept with anyone because the bar just has been so raised based on what I want to get myself involved with when it comes to being physically intimate with someone. I've already had plenty of opportunities in the past or to explore my physical expression and being with different partners. Now I'm at this place where I've learned to provide myself that which was missing for me, and then I just started asking myself, okay, well, when it comes to love and romantic relationships, what do I want most? What's the thing? What's the best case scenario for me? And I would have been kidding myself had I said anything other than, yeah, I want a partner that I can experience in like a deep connection with and just like a deep support and love, somebody who's there. So it took some effort, but I started to just not put any of my attention, focus, or time or energy into anything other than that. So and Santa Teresa has a lot of beautiful women, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, some of my friends and I would agree. We always agree that Miami has the most beautiful women. I think I would disagree now and say Santa Teresa now.
Oh my goodness. I remember arriving and looking at all the men and being like,
the men too. Everybody's a surfer.
Candy. Yeah. Exactly. Just eye candy everywhere.
Or a yogi or both.
Yeah. And like, just so, like, the beauty is also just like the life that they have running through them. You know, everyone's just,
Yeah.
Full of life. Yeah. It's really interesting to hear everything you just mentioned because energetically, I get a sense from you that you don't need to prove anything anymore.
Right.
It's like that arrogance has fallen away. It's like you could have someone argue with you, like say things with you, and you would just stand still and hold space. You know, it's like the outside doesn't threaten you as much as it used to.
Yeah, and there's a certain appeal and flash and sense of novelty that's always attractive that being involved with different women would have, right? And there's always like that sense of novelty. Well, like, oh, okay, well, what would it be like with that other person, or what could I experience with that other person? And the desire to explore that appeal has just simmered down for me. There was this big lesson that I got from in ayahuasca a year before the one that from last December, which was just like all about this new paradigm of adulthood, this new paradigm of being an adult. And it said something like an adult can discern which wants are from a place of ego and which wants are from a place of genuine desire of what actually wants to get created.
Yeah.
And also an adult knows that he can and knows that he doesn't have to, right? So I might experience like this little rush of like, ooh, I could explore something with this beautiful woman that I find myself attracted to at this moment. And I don't have to.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that in that moment satisfies it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I could create that. Man, that's awesome. And that's not what I want to do right now, you know? Whereas before, that allure would have taken me there like a hungry puppy dog, you know? Now it's like I get to stay centered and not sway away from the knowing of what I want to create in my life with someone. And to add one last piece to your question of like what surprised me the most about myself now is it turns out that there's like a poet within me. I find myself writing love poems.
Wow, that does not surprise me. I love that.
Yeah, there's a beautiful woman in my life now that I've just recently started to explore this connection with, literally like a month ago. And yeah, I like, it's just a new paradigm, and I find myself like there's things that want to get expressed that now just come through, and all of a sudden I got poems.
Wow.
So yeah, that was nice. And there was a time where I found myself thinking like, oh no, I can't, but I can't give her these. I'll just keep them for myself because this is too much. But then I was like, you know what, fuck it. If it's this too much, then whatever. Then maybe like, who cares? Maybe it might not be it. But I read her a poem and like she loved it.
I'm not surprised,
She's
especially.
like, I thought it was gonna be kind of cheesy. She's like, I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's just so clear that you're coming from this different place of extending an expression of love, not getting the approval from a little
Mm-hmm.
boy perspective, you know? It's like, yeah, just coming at it with a lot of
Yeah.
um presence and confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
but confidence not in the way of like a bragging kind of way, but in like it's gonna be okay for me to expose my heart, and whether
Yeah.
she crushes it or not, like it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I know that this is the first time ever that you live abroad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious what that's been like for you,
Mm.
living a full year outside of, in a completely different environment than you're familiar with.
Huh. Yeah, great question. At the very beginning, right before leaving, I was getting a little anxious. I was like, man, I'm so used to working from my corner office in downtown Miami with two big monitors.
Yeah.
And how am I going to work from my laptop? I've tried that before at coffee shops and I find it really annoying and constraining.
Mm.
So even something like that, and like, what if the Wi-Fi sucks and shit? Like, what if I don't know where to go get food? Like, where's the grocery store? What does the grocery store even have?
The
Can I go
grocery
shop?
store.
Like, yeah, and all these fears, like the mind is so funny. It comes up with all these fears. So eventually I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna trust that I can figure it out. I'm a pretty resourceful guy. So yeah, it's almost just ridiculous how simple that stuff is to sort out,
Mm.
almost like not even worth talking about. Because it's just finding Wi-Fi and you work. And that's it. After a
Yeah.
few weeks, like, I'm already used to working on my laptop. In fact, I'm back here in Miami. I've got my big computer and two big monitors in storage, and I could pull them out and work. But I'm like, nah, I'll just work from my laptop. I'm so used to it now. Uh,
Wow.
and and yeah, I think discipline is very important. Like the discipline to just make sure you get stuff done, or the things that you need to get done. Um,
Which, speaking of, someone had a question of how you start your day and stay
yeah.
productive. So we can sneak that one in there right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So how I start my day? How I start my day is I drink 2 cups of water, 16 ounces,
Mm.
and I pee. I brush my teeth. Then I put on my medicine music playlist and I do stretching for 15 minutes with a timer that does a little ding bell every 1 minute. So I switch to the next stretch and the next stretch and the next stretch. I do that on my mat if I have it handy, and then I do 30 minutes of meditation. There's a couple of songs that I mostly lean towards for that. Um, and or I might do like the Kriya yoga routine. I'm initiated in Kriya yoga for people that might not know that. So sometimes I'll skip if I don't do the stretching and or meditation, I could replace both of those with the Kriya Yoga routine that takes about 45 minutes. So either way, it's like a 45-minute thing altogether. 15 minutes of stretching, 30 minutes of meditation, and then exercise, which usually is about another 45 minutes. Then make my smoothie, shower, and go to work. So it's usually I try to give myself 3 hours to do all that, to take my time, and then start working. So I start working usually by 10 a.m. Eastern. And how I stay focused is, one thing that helps is loving my environment so much and wanting to go into the environment to just like explore, play around, hang out with people.
Yeah.
That it motivates me to like finish quickly, to then go out.
Who would have thunk? Create a life that you love so much
Yeah.
that you want to work and be productive.
Yeah. And that also requires discipline. I think one thing that is very worth saying is it's all about your relationship with your word, right? Because if I tell myself, okay, I'm not going to go outside till I finish these tasks, but then I'm just like, oh, I didn't finish, but I'll just go anyway. That very quickly becomes a habit. Like, obviously, it's okay if that happens a few times. Like, for sure, there's been times where I'm like, all right, it's 6 p.m. Do I want to keep working? No, but I didn't finish these tasks. But all right, I'll give myself a break this time.
Yeah.
And go, but don't make a habit out of it.
Right, because in the end, really, results come from actions. So
yeah, so I think that's mostly it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm taking some mental notes from that one.
Yeah, the exercise I do a couple twice a week. I do strength training, mostly calisthenics. It's not really, I didn't really have access to nice gyms all the time.
Right.
So a lot of body weight exercise. Another twice a week I would just do HIIT. HIIT is awesome because it's like 15 minutes and like you're good. Mm-hmm. If you need a good routine, holla at me, I got you. And then once a week I would do maybe some extra yoga or like free flow movement, kind of work on like maybe breakdancing, freezes and stuff like that, like arm balancing, stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, I'm curious, what fears are you facing in this period of your life?
Oof, man. Somebody asked me like, what am I afraid of? Maybe like a month or two ago, and I had such a hard time thinking of what. And I got to this place like, wow, I think I don't have any fears, but it's total BS. I have a huge fear right now, and it's probably part of that new Cesar. This new Cesar now is all about Dharma, meaning, okay, so now that I have a like huge clarity on what matters to me and what I think is important and even my purpose, like, okay, how do I start to make that what I pour most of my time and effort into? Because right now I still have my marketing business and I'm working, I work about 6 hours a day, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. And it takes up a lot of time, right? So I'm present to like how much I would want to do other stuff that is more like mission driven, purpose driven. But being in the business is taking like a lot of my time right now. So what I'm most afraid of is taking too long in making that transition. And right now I basically see two pathways. Either I tie some of this purpose into my current business, maybe three pathways, or I get to a point in my business quickly where I can just step away from it. It still brings value to my clients, but I've automated it and I can focus on other things. Or I close it, and say peace out, time to do something else. So there definitely is a good amount of fear around how to best navigate that and whether or not I can pull that off. Yeah.
That's so good. I'm like, that's a juicy one. And I think will will be so helpful for people going through this experience to learn from you, because so many people struggle with that of like when's the time to let go, whether or not to let go, and to just
Yeah.
kind of let life flow, and the answers come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of letting things come to you, what is your relationship to surrendering now?
Relationship to surrendering. My relationship to it is that it's wise. It's helpful.
Uh-huh.
Um, oh my God. Like I get so moved just by thinking thinking of how much the universe had my back and how much it was there for me whenever I just let go. Um, it's just ridiculous how much like the universe just was my ally in causing or creating and everything that took place this year, and that mostly came from surrendering,
Hmm.
because that was why it was so frustrating for me the first couple of weeks of Potrero, because I couldn't figure it out up
Right.
here in my head. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if somebody could just give me a checklist on how to heal myself,
Mhm.
I could go and do it. I'm such a great doer, right? Like, tell me how to do it.
Yes.
But that was bankrupt in this journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to just see the bankruptcy of it, and just get to this place of like, all right, I won't be able to figure this out. And that's okay. And I'm just going to go on with life. It was like a brand new thing for me. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna do my life and trust that
That
somehow
crazy
this
thing.
intention is
Yeah.
gonna yeah, somehow this intention is gonna unfold in the way that I'm visioning that it could, and it does, you know. So maybe I
Yep.
need to do more of that in my business.
Looks like you just answered your own
Yeah.
question.
Did you set that up, you wise coach? You. You know?
No.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
For those of you that don't know, Tanai is a fantastic women's empowerment coach. Give her a shout if you want to transform your life and just to be totally in love with it.
Thank you. I am now opening up to coaching men as well, just so you know. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
All
it's
right.
time for us to do work together, men and women and all
Mm,
genders. So I'm opening up my
yeah.
group programs for both
Mm,
to be part of it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Especially, you were on the What Men Really Crave panel.
Which is so much fun.
Yeah. And now you're
And
going
it's
to be on
becoming a
the,
series. So excited for
yes,
the next
now
one.
it's What Men Really Crave in Sex.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool to hear what you've learned, especially like you've had a year of celibacy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be really cool to get your perspective coming from what
Yeah.
you've learned through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're wrapping up here, so would love to hear what your intentions are for the next year. Where,
Ooh.
yeah, what, like, we've heard like a few of the things that have kind of led up to who you are now. And so let's hear what we can look forward to on the next year's journey with Cesar. I just love that that's your Instagram name. It's like,
Thank you.
yeah.
Um, Next year it's going to be more geared towards service. This year I resisted pretty much 99% of the time any pull towards like, ooh, I can provide this to people, I can offer this to people. I was more about, no, this year's about me.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do my process.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that jump into providing too quickly, in my opinion, if I maybe a bit opinionated for a second, but like yeah, we have a breakthrough, and then all of a sudden we want to start a business around it. I think I really appeal. It really appeals to me to to dive into something deeply before I start offering something, and I feel that now I've covered quite a distance in the journey of introspection, self-discovery, inner healing, um, dealing with the pain body, with the inner child, and now going into next year, I think I'm going to be focusing on creating something to support people through that. Perhaps particularly men, creating an offering around making peace and bringing full forgiveness and acceptance to the feminine um, energy in their lives, mothers, ex-girlfriends, and for us to like really learn to give ourselves that thing that we felt that our mother didn't provide, that then we go on to look for in other women, which is an unwinnable game for them that ends up creating a lot of collateral damage and conflict and chaos in relationships with women. I think ladies have had to deal with and tolerate a lot uh, of stuff around that. So yeah, like helping men really own their pain and heal it, and then step into their purpose, right? So that we don't just get caught up doing like wound worshiping, as your friend Kevin mentioned. I love that
Wound
term.
worshiping.
Yeah, wound worshiping. Yeah, I think there's some circles where like people get a bit just all about their wounds. Here I go being opinionated again, but eventually we want to start creating and move on from the wound. Okay, we identified it, we've sat with it, we've coddled it, we've held it, we've healed it. Now it's time to what does that energy now want to create on the world? What's my purpose? To start creating something. So that's one thing I'm going to be focusing on. I'm also working with my soul brother Darren. We're in a project called the Gaia Awakening Institute, where that's a huge project. It's going to be a lot about like sacred knowledge, and part of it's going to be an academy where there's a lot of indigenous wisdom being reawakened, and creating experiences to reconnect people with nature, with their hearts and themselves, and just creating different offerings. At that point, we're working with a retreat center now. That's where we're moving down to, actually, in a few days, December 30th, 5 minutes away. Actually, no, 1 block away from this retreat center that we're going to be doing a lot of work with. In fact, our first event is going to be New Year's Eve. We're having like just an awesome full day event with an ecstatic dance and fire ceremony, meditation, and the mountains at sunset, and it's going to be epic. So yeah, there's just a lot that's going to get created next year, and it's going to be all revolving around supporting other people in their own deep inner healing process.
So cool. I just want to like super acknowledge you for listening to that intuition, because I even remember asking you, hey, why don't you help other people with this? And you're like, it's not the spot yet, Wow. Watching you like let yourself be guided and listening to yourself has been such a treat. And I just respect you so much and admire you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I did too. Right back at you.
Thanks.
You planted the seed with that Ana Laura, that very random text that I got that said, hey, I felt I should share this contact with you in case you want to reach out to her. She's my
Is that what I
record
did?
reader. Yeah, I've told that story so many times. At total random time. I don't know. It's like divine intervention. I'm like, Akashic record reader. I don't know. I guess so. I mean, maybe I'll do it. And plus tonight, I'll be like, yeah, sure, yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. For like a month.
And then you were like, a month later, you're like, I can't wait to hear how it goes. And I'm like, oh shoot, I still haven't done it. I need to do it quickly. So you even followed up, and yeah, that was divine intervention. The best way I could describe my conversation with Ana Laura, and just like the fact that I had an appointment with her in December 18th of 2020, is divine intervention.
Wow.
So thank you.
Amazing. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me host this episode. If you guys have any more questions to ask him, you can DM him on his Instagram. But he posts Cesar posts his stories on Instagram, and you can.
This is so cool.
Follow. Yeah, you can follow him along on his journey.
You're hired full time. Oh man, this is so fun. Thanks Tanai for coming on and just taking over, playing host, being host.
So welcome.
And yeah, just so much love for you. I love that we get to share about our journeys together, and that we've been there for each other at different points in time.
Me too.
And thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed a bit about the 2021 recap. Definitely connect with Tanai as well. She's amazing. Her Instagram is at Tanai Milgram. Is that right? Yeah. How do you spell it?
TANAIMILGRAM.
Perfect. Yeah, connect with her too. She just continues to drop knowledge every single day. Always blows me away, the level to which she just puts herself out there completely vulnerably in service of her mission and what really she finds important. She really finds important. So thank you, Tanai. Thank you for listening, for joining us in this conversation.
And if you want to find out what Cesar really craves in sex, tune in January 3rd. And you can find the tickets on my Instagram account.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah. I'll put the link in my Instagram as well. I think I have the old link on that one. So I'm going to update that ASAP, and yeah, join us. Awesome. All right, everyone. So much love for you. Thank you for just being you. Thank you for your own work and your own journey. And thank you for allowing us to contribute to you, and looking forward to seeing what magic comes to you out of listening and following along in this journey. May your journey be fruitful and joyful as well. Much love. Bye-bye. That is all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for being a valued listener. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the podcast in whatever your favorite platform is. You can also watch the video version of the episode on the Love is Our Nature YouTube channel. Check out loveisOurNature.com as well. That's where you can see our latest news and most recent content. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a review, share it with your friends, or email me. I love hearing what you took away for yourself out of listening. My email is Cesar@loveIsOurNature.com. That's CESAR, or Cesar, like my mother says it, at loveIsOurNature.com altogether. Till next time, I'll be here rooting for you. And remember, whatever the question, love is the answer.